I liked that our Jack Ryan, our version of Jack Ryan, was someone who you may know in your life. He could be your history teacher, he could be your accountant, he could be your best friend. He is very much an everyman, and he's very smart, but he doesn't, when he finds himself in an extraordinary situation, you know, much like MacGyver or something, he's got to figure out a way out. He doesn't know exactly what to do, but he has to think on his feet, and I like that quality of men thinking on his feet, that his brawn isn't his muscles or his fists, his brawn is his mind.
I enjoyed his paradox. He's the best and the brightest, a brilliant analytical mind, but a sort of reluctant CIA man. And in this origin story, you get the chance to see how someone who originally had joined the Marines had been sort of invalided out with a terrible helicopter crash and subsequent very, very serious back injury, quite where they go and what they do with their life, and whether they can find in themselves and for themselves another way to serve. And Jack Ryan does that, and this story allows us to see how that happens with a Jack who's quite vulnerable and contains those sort of regular guy qualities that make him very empathetic to us, I think.
He's sort of the everyman, isn't he? I mean, I suspect that's, I mean, although you can't really be the everyman looking like Chris Pine, but you know, I mean, I think that's sort of the idea of it, is that it is, as I said before, instead of this kind of 007 character or the kind of Jason Bourne, it is the guy that's kind of found in the middle of something that he can't quite cope with and finds that, you know, he can. So it's more along those lines than the kind of absolute trained killer. Although he is also a trained killer.
Turned up dead yesterday. What's their target?
He fits the prototype of what we've come to know of a Jack Ryan. You know, he's a smart guy. He's, you know, and I think what's more important is to understand that as an actor, he can carry this film. He has that X quality where he can step into his marks. He doesn't have to have an accent. He doesn't have to have a limp. He doesn't have to do anything incredibly interesting in order to be watched and be followed. So he represents, I think, you know, what I consider a true leading man, and that's what Jack Ryan. I mean, Jack's got to tumble and run around. He's got to get the bad guy. He's got to, you know, be able to catch the attention of women. And Chris falls into all those categories. But, you know, in terms of an actor, he can really control and own the Jack Ryan situation. He's good at it.
In a post 9/11 world that deals with the covert agencies and the kinds of financial crises that can be global in a heartbeat that we all have experience of watching unfold, the character could only be different. I mean, because circumstances were different. Essential characteristics remain the same in terms of the level of his ambition, his devotion to those he loves, some pleasing eccentricities. But Chris Pine just brings a modernity in his own way that all those other actors did, and that everyman quality that is that makes him particularly appealing.
I remember watching the films growing up and watching someone like Harrison Ford do it, and there was always a quality to him that even if a superior were to tell him something to do, if he didn't believe it was right in his heart, in his mind, in his bones, if he didn't think it was something that was worth doing, he wouldn't do it and he would fight back. And that is to me the definition of a good man and a you know, a hero, someone I would like to watch on screen. Watching Alec Baldwin do it, I mean, Hunt for Red October remains one of my favorite films, and there's a scene when he's shaving, and Alec, I always thought, gave him a strong confidence. You know, you never doubted for a second that he wasn't going to get on that submarine. So I kind of always thought about marrying the two, you know, this quiet intelligence that I thought that Harrison brought to it, and this kind of fierce confidence that Alec had, and kind of somewhere in the middle is that relatable guy that, again, like I said before, someone that you know, he could be your history professor, he could be your best friend.